Hi everyone. So last time we talked about contracts in general terms. This time we're going to be talking about your contract and what specific things you should put into it. So the first thing that your contract should state that you're in charge of the decision making and that you're going to be the musical consultant for everything regarding music for this particular project. This is important in case the client tries to bring someone else in, or in case the client tries to push their family friend onto you for a particular thing. If they say, oh, I just have my next door neighbor just loves to sing Lady in Red, can we do that too? It'll just be really easy. The first part of the contract stating that you're in charge gives you the freedom to either indulge the client and say, sure, we can do that, or to be able to say, I'm not sure that I can deliver that with musical integrity, and our contract does state that I'm allowed to say yay or nay, so you can worry about that yourself. Second thing that your contract should have is the exact duration and terms of service. It should say what it is you're providing and for how long it's providing. That way, when you start packing up at 6 o'clock and the client says, well wait, I thought you were going to be playing for longer, you can point to the contract and say, nope, contract says 6 o'clock. That's it. I find, this part is up to you, but I find that it's useful to put into the contract a clause that states that additional time can be purchased for a certain amount. Something like, if at the end of the time the client desires more musical activity, additional time can be bought at a rate of $75 per musician per hour, or something like that. I've never actually had to use that part, but it's useful just in case the client says, we'd like to give you more money. That gives you the freedom to definitively say, okay, this is in the contract, it's safe, we can do this. Liability. Liability is basically legalese for, oh crap, something went wrong. And you want to make sure that liability is clearly stated in your contract. Generally speaking, there aren't a ton of liability issues for musicians to worry about, to my knowledge, but the biggest one is weather and cover from said weather, especially for outdoor events. If your event is outdoors and it starts raining and you didn't remember to provide and you didn't remember to bring a canopy or ask the client to bring a canopy, you're not getting paid. Your client is very well within his or her rights to say, you didn't say anything about the weather, I'm not paying you because you didn't play your music. So it's really important to have a weather clause in there. Even for something that's, if you're expecting good weather, it's important to have sun cover, of course, especially for us string players whose instruments can be very temperamental in the sun. So, liability needs to be covered in your contract. And as long as we're on the subject of liability, liability is a little bit of a difficult area to make sure that you're totally covered from. Don't be afraid to go and consult a lawyer on this stuff. It'll be very worth your while. This is one of the things that was touched on in the Mike Montero video that I decided not to include in my own video blog last time, because Mike Montero's video, generally speaking, appears to be for longer-term projects. Most independent contracts that you sign for special events, things like weddings and receptions and things like that, are shorter-term things, and they tend to be a bit neater. So, generally speaking, we don't have as great a need for lawyer talk as somebody in Mike Montero's position might. But it is still very useful to have a lawyer go over things, especially things like liability, which can get a little bit complex. Next thing that your contract should state is how, when, and by whom you're getting paid. You don't want to leave any gray area in here about any of these things, about when and how and from whom money is coming from for you. For two reasons. First, obviously, so that if you reach the end of the date by which you're supposed to be paid, you can go back to the client and say, hey, I was supposed to be paid by X. What's going on? This is in the contract, I need this now. Second reason is a bit more customer-oriented. When you're at a wedding, you never want to be that guy who's going around from family member to family member trying to figure out, are you supposed to pay me? Who am I supposed to be getting my money from? And you want it clean and cut and dried so that you can go directly to the person, finish the business, and get out of everyone's hair so that they can just go enjoy their special day. So that's just good customer service, is knowing from whom you're getting paid and when and how. But it's also, of course, very useful for you so that if things do turn sour, you can point to the contract and say, hey, this is in here, we both agreed to this, pay up. Last thing that I find useful for special music events contracts is to have a final change by date. A date that's in the contract that states, after this date, no further musical changes can be requested. This prevents your client from coming to you 2 days before the ceremony and saying, oh, I wanted this, I wanted that, is it too late to bring this in? Having a final change by date allows you to say, yes, it is too late, I'm not arranging this whole song for you 2 days before the ceremony. And that's pretty much it when it comes to contracts. I hope that you found this to be informational and enjoyable, and I hope that you are all very empowered to go write good contracts now. So that's that, and I'll see you next time.